Okay, so active and passive. Passive means what? You're telling it in an indirect manner. So we use transitive verbs in both active and passive forms. For example, in active voice, if it says the hunter killed the lion. So the main focus in active and passive voices, in active voice, the focus is on who did it. So you should understand this. In active voice, the focus is on who did it. In passive voice, the focus is on to whom was it done or who is the recipient. Look at this example. The hunter killed the lion. What is the focus here? Here you want to focus hunter. That is who did it. Okay. So in passive voice, what happens? Who is the recipient in the sentence? Lion is the recipient in the sentence. Therefore, you say recipient of the action or effect. The lion was killed by the hunter. So the simple difference between active and passive voices, in active voice, the focus is on who did the action. And passive voices, who received the action. Someone has cleaned the windows. The windows have been cleaned. Okay. Passive forms are made up of the verb be with a past participle. So be forms, I hope you remember when I discussed verbs, okay, and even this helping verbs or auxiliary verbs, be form, have form, do form, okay. Be plus past participle. Past participle, the verb ends with ed, en, e or n or t. English is spoken all over the world. So you should understand one thing, when you use passive forms, that is when the focus is on what happened to something, then you use be plus past participle form. English is spoken all over the world. The windows have been cleaned. Lunch was being served. The work will be finished soon. They might have been invited to the party. If you want to show the person or thing doing the action, we use by. She was attacked by a dangerous dog. For example, if we just say she was attacked, it conveys the meaning. If you want to denote by whom, then we use by. One thing you should understand, in passive voice, even if you just mention she was attacked, it is more than sufficient. It is correct, because in passive voice, the focus is on who was the recipient, what happened to the recipient of the action. That is more than sufficient. We may not need this information at all. Who did it? We don't need it in passive voice. Then the passive infinitive is made up of to be with a past participle. The doors are going to be locked at 10 o'clock. You shouldn't have done that. You ought to be punished. So passive infinitive means what? Infinitive, as I said, to plus base form of the verb plus to be with past participle. We sometimes use the verb get with a past participle to form the passive. Be careful with that glass. It might get broken. Peter got hurt in a crash. So we use to be forms. We use get forms also. So past participle means it's this ed. The verb ends with ed, en. We can use the indirect object as the subject of the passive verb. I gave him a book for his birthday. He was given a book for his birthday. See, if you just mention I gave a book for his birthday, it's understood. But if you want to mention the object, who received, then you can use him. Someone sent her a check for 1,000 euros. She was sent a check for 1,000 euros. We can use phrasal verbs also. What do you mean by phrase? Phrase refers to a group of sentences having a meaning, but not a complete meaning. He called off the meeting. They called off the meeting. The meeting was called off. His grandmother looked after him. He was looked after by his grandmother. They will send him away to school. He will be sent away to school. Some verbs which are very frequently used in the passive are followed by the to infinitive. Be supposed to, be expected to, be asked to, be told to, be scheduled to, be allowed to, be invited to, and be ordered to. John has been asked to make a speech at the meeting. You are supposed to wear a uniform. The meeting is scheduled to start at 7. So here they are given different word forms that are used. One is we use to infinitive, then we use phrasal verbs, we use indirect objects, we use to be form, get form, okay, and be plus past participle. Okay, so the basic thing that you should understand related to active and passive voice is, in active voice, the focus is on the doer of the action, and passive voice, the focus is on what happened to somebody, the recipient of the action. If you're asked to convert from active voice to passive voice, you have to focus on what happened to somebody. Okay.